Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar about how access control systems can improve facility security and bolster your business. My name is Mike Buck and I'm on the Solutions Architecture team here at Storable. Thank you for joining me today, and I'm excited to share some insights on the benefits of an integrated access control system and what it can do for your business. So before we get started, we have just a few housekeeping items that we want to cover. Today's webinar is going to be 30 to 40 minutes long. We want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions at the end. And please use the live chat for any technical issues you might be having. We do have a team behind the scenes here that can help out with any issues. If you're having some audio issues, there's an option in GoToWebinar to switch from computer audio to phone, and that can typically resolve the problem. And like I said, at the end, we want to make sure we have plenty of time to answer any questions that you might have. So during this presentation, feel free to type out any kinds of questions in the question section. I'll do my best to get those answered for you at the end. If we do run out of time, we'll make sure to reach out afterwards and follow up with you. And also, if you're interested in anything we discussed today, please let us know in the chat and we'll reach out to you after the webinar. During today's presentation, we're going to talk about why access control is necessary for your business and what an integrated access control system needs to do in order to be effective. We'll contextualize where the industry is at this moment, what new technologies have emerged in the industry, and what we can learn from them, and what Storable specifically brings to the table so your business can operate smoothly and take advantage of a fully integrated access control solution, which will increase your operational efficiency and maximize your revenue. So let's get started. First, let's talk about what business needs an integrated access control solution can help you address. Controlling access to your facility is a critical component of any self-storage business. You need to make sure active tenants can come and go during your facility hours with ease, while making sure delinquent tenants and outsiders can get in. Now, this is where an access control system comes in. Now, from the tenant's perspective, it's the keypad at the entrance that allows them to enter a secure facility. For the facility itself, an access control system always includes a few common components. A controller, which is typically located in the office, the gate or lock that the tenant would pass through, and of course that access mechanism or keypad. And as I mentioned earlier, an access control system can increase the facility's security and improve the tenant experience, making for a more security facility, and can give you your tenants access to that facility even outside of traditional office hours. Now, as much as I don't want to have to mention it, the pandemic really did influence the storage industry. We saw consumer behavior change in significant ways as in-person move-ins were brought to a halt due to office closures. Tenants gravitated towards contactless and online move-ins exclusively during the pandemic. Now that the pandemic's passed and we've been able to resume normal operations, consumer behavior looks to have been changed permanently, with prospective tenants still searching and moving in online. Even though we're able to perform in-person rentals, we see those move-in workflows taking advantage of the contactless features we've put in place earlier. Having an integrated access control system at your property really ups the game from the tenant's perspective. The facility appears more secure to your tenants, and it is more secure as well. It allows you as an operator to determine what hours and days you want your tenants to access the facility, and allows for multiple schedules as well. It also allows you to designate a traditional non-tenant, such as a maintenance worker, a trash collection service, a snowplow, the police or fire departments, or even your manager to access the facility. It also allows you to determine the tenant's access code during the move-in workflow, as well as giving you access to remotely control the access points on the property, either through a remote connection to the computer running the third party's access account management software, or if using our access control system directly from within SiteLink Web Edition or SiteLink's MyHub, which is the web-based application of SiteLink. Okay, so now let's talk about the features and limitations of both types of access control systems that we see. A locally installed local controller system versus a cloud-based system. So with local controllers, as you can see by this chart, there are a lot of moving parts. First, you have a controller that's connected to each of your access points, the gates, the doors, the roll-ups. The local controller has an interface cable that's connected to a computer on site that must be up and running, with SiteLink running as well. The purpose of having SiteLink running is so that it can update that local third-party software with any incremental changes happen to the access control of a tenant, a new move-in, a lockout, etc. All right. The account management software is provided by the third-party access control provider, and it's typically a separate program that's also running on the local computer in the office. So you have SiteLink open as well as the access control program in the background. Although some access control systems allow for cloud-based updates to the controllers, you're always going to find a local computer involved that's up and running with an interface cable to the controller and SiteLink needing to be up and running on that computer as well for the system to update. So cloud-based systems. With a cloud-based controller, any update made to the SiteLink system is picked up, either through the SiteLink program for other third-party providers, or directly if using our access control system that's directly integrated into SiteLink. The key advantages of using a cloud-based system is there's no need for an on-site computer. Only a computer somewhere running SiteLink if you're using a third-party provider. And in the case of our access control, you don't even have to have SiteLink up and running anywhere for the system to continue to update and function. It's important to realize that for non-storable access control, you still need to configure and control the access zones, the times, and the third-party provider's web-based software. And you'll have to use that software to update the tenants and remotely control the gates and the doors. So let's take a little bit deeper dive into what we can offer you for an integrated access control program. Obviously, the ability to completely manage your access control system within only one program, the SiteLink program, becomes a tremendous time saver and provides an easier access control management experience with all the features built into one application. With Access by Storable, we provide the only full and direct integration between your access control system and the SiteLink program. It's easy to implement and manage and returns countless hours of time back to the manager in operational efficiency. The ability to call one support number for all your SiteLink questions becomes a real game changer. No more do you have to troubleshoot an issue between SiteLink and the other third-party gate access control provider. Our support team can handle it all, even the complex issues that come up with an access control system. So let's take a look at some screenshots and show you what it looks like inside of SiteLink. With SiteLink Web Edition, which we can see on the left here, and SiteLink MyHub, which we'll see on the right, some of you may be familiar with it, you'll now be able to use our access control system without the need for any third-party software running on your computer at all. As you can see, access is available right from the home screen of SiteLink Web Edition. And if you're familiar with MyHub, you'll see a new menu item on the left-hand side for access. Now, when you launch access control, you'll immediately be taken to the access activity log. You'll have the ability to filter by date and export that activity log if needed. You don't need to launch a third-party program to see your tenant's activity. It's all available right here inside the screen. Now, if you select accessors at the top, think of that as your tenants. You can access all of your current, previous, and non-tenants directly within SiteLink Access Control. You have a single point of management for the tenant's access control properties, including viewing their individual gate activities, changing their access code, assigning access zones as needed, or giving the tenant a full override for 24-hour access if you need. You'll also see what units they happen to be renting right there on the fly. Within Access by Storable, you have access to the controls where you can easily open, hold open, or close the access points directly in SiteLink Web Edition or SiteLink MyHub. And that's key Because if you're used to SiteLink MyHub, any place that you have access to the internet from any internet-enabled device, you can launch SiteLink MyHub, access the gate controls, and open that gate remotely. You might be sitting at the lake or up in the mountains or at the beach. So long as you have a device with you that has an internet connection and you can access MyHub, you'll be able to control the function of your gate. Now, we can define any days or hours as needed for any keypad or access point on the property, and we can assign those access points to any defined access zone. So this is a real game changer. And the thing that will save operators the most time month over month is this pre-assignment of units to access zones. What this means is that any unit you might have, vacant, occupied, unrentable, company-owned, etc., we can add at the time of integration to an access zone so that a week or a month from now, when you rent that unit, that tenant will be automatically assigned to the access zone that they need to be added to, zone or zones, so that their code will work on the keypads you want it to and not work where you don't want it to. This is a real game changer. So there's one other thing I want to mention here before we wrap up and roll into questions and answers. And again, I want to emphasize to you the ease of self-installation. We don't require you purchase or use an installer network. All right, you can install this stuff yourself. Our technicians are really good. We have all the wiring diagrams you need. We have all the help you might possibly need to get it installed. All right. So let's go ahead and open this up for questions. James, do we have any questions out there?
Yes, we do have some. And again, like Mike said, if you have any questions, absolutely write them in the chat right now. But we do have several questions. The first question I have, Mike, is could you speak to safety in terms of the notion of being cloud-based?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of things people worry about are being hacked or being susceptible to viruses. Well, our access control system is driven by a Raspberry Pi computer interface with its own proprietary code. And because of that, it's not susceptible to any viruses out there. And because of the nature of it, it's an encrypted and secure VPN tunnel to the cloud. So you can't hack into it. All right. You don't ever have to worry about it being hacked at any point.
Awesome. Another question was, in terms of installation, are we able to install this ourselves?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, it's very easy to self-install. The keypads themselves take 5 wires to hook up to the controller. A gate takes 2 wires to hook up to the controller. A door takes 2 wires to hook up to the controller. We have all the wiring diagrams we can show you. We can walk you through it on the phone. It's very, very simple to hook this stuff up.
Absolutely. I know that the majority, if not all the people on this call today are SiteLink users. And the question is, could we add special codes, for example, for fire, police?
Yes. Absolutely. Sorry to cut you off there, James.
No, you're good.
Yeah, you have the ability to add those traditional non-tenant codes directly in SiteLink. All right. So you can build a code specific to the police department or fire department, a code specific to the trash collector, a code specific to the maintenance guy, a snowplow operator, whoever it might be, and have them have access to the facility on whatever zone or zones you want them to have access to. Traditionally, what we find for a lot of these, like the manager, the maintenance guy, the police and fire, they'll want 24-hour access. We can easily assign 24-hour access to them, and they'll have their own unique code. So in other access control systems from other providers, what you've had to do in SiteLink traditionally is create a company-owned unit and then have a tenant assigned to that company-owned unit to give them that gate code so that they'll be able to access the system. You don't need to do that at all with our access control system in SiteLink. You do away with the notion completely of having to create a company-owned unit and assign a tenant to it. All right, that doesn't exist any longer. You just completely create the non-tenant code separate on its own, and it doesn't affect your unit count or anything like that. Okay.
Excellent. Question here from Mark that says, I have 3 locations, each 1 mile apart, and all 3 are managed at one location. But he says he has no power at 2 of the locations. Is there a setup we could have for him?
Well, if he doesn't have any power at the other 2 locations, it's going to be impossible to even provide power to open up a gate or a door. So obviously, every physical location that's going to require an access control system, no matter whose access control system is going to require power. All right. The other thing that we can provide for you, and this comes up a lot with SiteLink discussions, is you might have 2 or 3 physical locations, but managed under one SiteLink database. So there's a couple of options you have here. All right. If you're able to set up a point-to-point wireless bridge between the 2 properties, that's typically an antenna that points from one property to the other, and have them communicate with each other, you can make all the properties part of the same local area network. And if that's the case, then we can set a system up for you easily, putting the cloud-based controller that contains the memory, the tenants' names, their codes, whether they're enabled or otherwise, at the main site where the internet connection is, and then put the remote controllers out there on the other side of that wireless bridge and configure them to work with the cloud node. If a wireless bridge isn't an option for you, then you would have to put the internet at each of the physical locations, and you would have to have a VPN tunnel built for each of those remote connections back to the main connection, main site. And then we can configure the controllers on the remote site as well by putting specific IP addresses on them that'll communicate via that tunnel to the cloud node at the main site. Okay.
Excellent. Mark says thank you on the network setup information. Vicky has a question. She says, does the Storable Access software log failed keypad entries to assist the facility manager in troubleshooting tenants' incorrect keyword entries?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
In other words, if someone puts in a wrong code for whatever reason, do we track that in the software?
So we can give you an activity log that shows you the wrong code that comes in. All right. We're going to be able to show you who's granted and who's denied, and we can show you the incorrect code. All right. That's not a problem. We can give you a log that gives that information to you. All right. And I was just thinking about something, James, to the question brought previously about not having any power. All right. There are options that you might want to pursue. If you can't get power brought out there from a public utility, you might consider putting up solar panels at those properties with an inverter that could convert to the AC power necessary to open up a gate or drive the access control system. Okay.
Excellent. So that's great insight, Mike. Any other questions for us today, specifically for Mike? Just want to open it up one more time. But with that being said, as you see here on Mike's slide, if there are any further questions, you can certainly reach out to us at salessolutions@storable.com, and we will certainly reach out to you with any help. But Mike, do you have any? We don't have any other questions at this point. Do you have any final comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you a lot for attending our session here. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm happy to get back to you with any answers. I'm happy to discuss any of your needs that you might have. We have all kinds of solutions and ways to make things work. So just reach out to us and let us know. And again, thanks so much for reaching out and joining us today. And I hope you all have a fabulous day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.